Today's story title is Nahud Fedala. I hope this Nahud Fedala incident will also send shivers of fear through all of you, inshallah. And once again, this story has been sent to us by all of your favorite brother, Jubair Islam. He lives in Agrabad, Chittagong. So, let's dive straight into the story. I'll present it to you exactly the way he sent it, so it'll be easier for you to understand and feel every moment. Let's begin. The incident took place in 1999, around the middle of March. Just like every other day, Hafez Shah Huzur finished praying Fajr and sat down to recite the Holy Quran. Suddenly, he noticed someone sitting right behind him, weeping uncontrollably. Huzur turned his head once and saw a middle-aged man with his head bowed low, covering his face with both hands, crying bitterly. Huzur didn't look back a second time, because these are very intimate and beautiful moments between a servant and his Lord. So whenever someone is crying during prayer like this, it's never right to stare at them or listen to their supplications. Hafez Shah Huzur finished his Quran recitation, turned around, and saw that the man had already left. It didn't seem like anything important, so Huzur didn't think much about it. The next day, after praying Fajr, Huzur sat down again to recite the Quran. A short while later, he heard intense crying behind him. He turned around and saw the same man, crying even more heavily than the day before. Just like the previous day, Huzur glanced at him once and then looked away. When he finished his recitation and looked back, the man hadn't left. This time, he had fallen into prostration and was weeping uncontrollably. Earlier, he had been crying with both hands raised. Now he was crying in sujood. Huzur lowered his head and quietly left the place. This continued almost every day. Every morning, that man would come to the mosque, listen to Hafez Shah Huzur's Quran recitation, and then cry profusely, especially in sujood. The interesting thing is, the man only came during Fajr time. He was never seen at any other prayer. It was a small neighborhood, and only a few worshippers came for Fajr congregation. Huzur knew almost all of them, but no one knew who this man was, where he came from, or whose relative he was. Naturally, the worshippers became very curious. So about a week, one eager brother decided to stay back after Fajr prayer and wait until the mosque became empty. That day, Huzur had a lot of work, so instead of reciting Quran, he sat quietly doing tasbih. Suddenly, he heard something. One of the elderly regular worshippers had gone up to the man and was repeatedly asking him questions. It felt strange, so Huzur turned around and saw the man still sitting there, while two worshippers stood on either side of him, firing questions non-stop. But the man remained completely indifferent. He kept his head down and continued reciting tasbih with full concentration. The two men kept asking and eventually got irritated. When they started speaking louder in frustration, Hafez Shah Huzur stood up from his place, walked over, and said to them, "Hey brothers, why are you shouting inside the mosque, and why are you disturbing this man? May I know what's going on?" Hearing Huzur's words, the two men felt embarrassed and said, "No, Huzur, we've been asking him questions for a long time, but he isn't answering at all. So we thought maybe he has hearing problems. That's why we raised our voices a bit. We're sorry, we're leaving now." They greeted Huzur and quickly left the mosque. Huzur then turned to the man and said gently, "When one Muslim speaks to another Muslim, the other should listen attentively. Our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, used to listen like that." After saying this much, Hafez Shah Huzur left the place. While talking to him, Huzur had observed the man very carefully, and in the following days, whenever he saw him again, he looked at his face very closely.
The situation wasn't exactly like that, but today the Huzur had looked at him very carefully. He had stared at the man's face for a long time, really taking him in. As he was walking out of the mosque, the Huzur kept thinking, what on earth has happened in this man's life that he sees himself as such a terrible sinner? Those weren't ordinary eyes. Those were the eyes of a criminal, someone who had spent most of his life committing sins and was now drowning in regret and guilt. After that, the Huzur went back to his office room and started working on his tasks. Suddenly, he heard loud shouting and commotion outside. When he stepped out, he realized the noise was coming from inside the mosque. The Huzur hurried over and saw that the same man was lying unconscious on the ground. 2 or 3 teachers from the madrasa were beside him, rubbing his hands and feet with water, trying to bring him back to consciousness. The Huzur came closer and looked at the man carefully. He noticed that the veins in his neck were trembling. He asked everyone to step aside. Then he took a glass of water, recited something over it, blew gently on it, and sprinkled the water 3 times on the man's face and eyes. Slowly, the man opened his eyes. When he saw everyone staring at him, he felt a little embarrassed and sat up. The Huzur gave him the rest of the water to drink, then quietly returned to his office. A short while later, the man himself came and stood at the door of the Huzur's office and greeted him with salam. The Huzur returned the greeting and invited him inside. The man sat down in front of the Huzur and asked, "Huzur, did you recite something over that water?" Hafez Shah Huzur smiled and nodded. The man said, "My name is Farid. This fainting spell isn't anything new for me, Huzur, but in the last 3 years, this is the first time that after drinking the water you blessed, I feel a little peace inside." Hearing this, the Huzur asked, "Why? Why didn't you feel peace before?" When people drink water that has been blessed with prayers, 2 kinds of people feel peace in their hearts. First, those who have stopped practicing black magic. Second, those who are suffering because of black magic. Which category do you fall into? After hearing this, the man slowly nodded in agreement. In a very weak voice, he said, "Huzur, according to what you said, I belong to the first category. I am a great sinner." Hearing that, the Huzur asked, "Then why have you come here?" The man replied, "I didn't come with any specific purpose, Huzur. For the last 3 years, I have been wandering from place to place, trying to find a right path, but every road seems closed to me. I feel like all paths are blocked." Hafez Shah Huzur said, "The path to becoming a good person is never truly closed. Some people find it, some don't. For that, you need Allah's mercy. It seems there is some obstacle in your way. That's why you think it's blocked, but actually it isn't. Anyway, since you've been wandering around, I hope you won't mind being my guest tonight. After dinner, I want to hear your story, how this journey began, what the obstacles are, whether the blockage is from you yourself or from something else." Saying this, the Huzur had him sit in the office, finished all his work, and later took him home. At home, arrangements were made for the man to rest. After dinner, they sat on the veranda. Hafez Shah Huzur began to listen to a terrifying life story. Now Farid started speaking, in Farid's own words. He said to the Huzur, "Huzur, please don't mind, but right now a Muslim Jinn is present in your house. I have seen him twice. Anyway, Huzur, you already know my name. My ancestral home was in Daud Kandi Upazila of Kumila. I was the only child of my parents. My late father, Elias Hussein, worked as an accountant at a local madrasa in our area. He was also a well-known Kabiraji, but he only practiced Kabiraji according to Islamic rules. Since childhood, I was a huge admirer of my father and his Kabiraji work. When I was very little, my mother wouldn't let me watch my father's treatments. She didn't want me to see those things, especially when any patient came. She would lock me inside the house. Even though my father worked at the madrasa, he sent me to school for my education after a few years of madrasa studies. As I grew older, my interest in my father's work kept increasing. After I entered class 6, my mother's strictness loosened a bit. Whenever I got the chance, I would sneak into my father's workroom and read his Kabiraji books. I didn't understand everything, but I understood a little. Soon my father realized what I was doing. One evening during dinner, he told me, "Farid, my son, the work I do may look good from the outside, but in reality, these are not good deeds. That's why I'm sending you to school. I don't want to bring you into this path. This path has many dangers, many troubles. Don't show any more interest in these things." At the time, I agreed, but deep in my heart, I could never let it go. Whenever a patient came to our house, I would secretly watch my father's treatments. Time passed like this. In 1976, at the age of 22, I passed my intermediate exams. By then, I had studied my father's books thoroughly. One day, my father came to me and said, "Farid, my son, there isn't any good big university here. If you want, you can go to Dhaka and complete the rest of your studies there." To be honest, I was already looking for exactly this kind of opportunity to get out of the house. So without wasting any time, I agreed to what my father said. My eldest uncle lived in Dhaka. My dad gave me his address and one day put me on a bus. But I never went to that uncle's house, and I didn't stay in Dhaka either. Ever since I was a kid, my big dream was to become a powerful, well-known Kabiraj, a traditional healer. That was the reason I set out, in search of a truly great guru. A few days later, I wrote a long letter explaining everything and sent it to my parents. I knew they would be really hurt and worried, but I was determined to follow my goal. So I started visiting different Kabirajas and tried to become their disciple. But most of them turned out to be complete frauds, or even if they knew some tricks, their powers were extremely weak. A few knew a little bit here and there, and yes, I did find one or two decent gurus. But instead of teaching me the real art of Kabiraj, they made me do their personal and family chores more than anything else. I thought to myself, if I serve them well, maybe slowly I'll win their hearts and they'll start teaching me properly. But what actually happened was, they saw I was hardworking and started taking advantage of me. They made me do all their personal work and household tasks. They realized they could get a lot of work done through me, so under the excuse of teaching, they just kept loading me with more and more chores. This went on for a while, but eventually I understood this was not the way. In search of a real guru, I spent a whole year wandering from place to place. During all that traveling, I did manage to learn a few basic things, but those skills were very low level. They weren't enough for me. I had a burning desire to learn something much bigger, something through which I could gain real power. With that goal in mind, I kept searching, and one day I finally got a lead on someone special. But he lived quite far away, in a village near the Sundarbans. His name was Manoj Kumar. Everyone called him Moina Thakur. In that entire area, around 10 to 20 villages, there was no Kabiraj bigger or more powerful than him. So, without thinking too much, I collected his address and headed straight to Moina Thakur's village. When I reached the area, finding his house wasn't too difficult. It was the year 1977. I noticed that everyone in the area knew him. Just mentioning his name brought a look of deep respect to people's faces. You could see the reverence in their eyes and expressions. When I arrived at Moina Thakur's house, I saw a middle-aged man sitting there wearing a dhoti and a Rudraksa mala around his neck. He looked at me and asked, "Hey boy, who are you? Why are you looking for me?" As soon as I told him why I had come and that I wanted to become his disciple, he immediately drove me away, shouting, "Go away! Go far away!" I had just stepped out of the house when I saw a group of men bringing another man who was tightly tied up.
They were carrying him toward Thakur. The moment I saw that, I realized the tied-up man had some serious problem. Okay, I thought, now I'll get to see this Thakur's real power, so I followed them inside. The men placed the tied-up person in the courtyard and stepped back a little. A short while later, Thakur came out. He first glanced at everyone, then focused his attention on the bound man. One of the guys started explaining the problem. I listened carefully too. Apparently, 3 days earlier, at night, this man had gone fishing near a canal close to the Sundarbans and never returned home. 3 days later, that very morning, a group of honey collectors, locally called moals, found him unconscious, lying in the mud on the bank of that canal while they were heading into the forest. The moals brought him back to the village, but after he regained consciousness, he started behaving very strangely. Whoever came in front of him, he would attack him, bite him, and speak in some weird, unknown language. Nobody could understand what he was saying, and I couldn't either. It sounded like a completely different language. Seeing all this, everyone got scared and rushed to Thakur. Thakur sat there calmly, smoking his hookah while listening to the whole story. Then he went inside, brought something out, muttered some mantras, and blew on it. After doing this for about 2 minutes, he burned that thing in his hookah and started smoking again. Next, he walked around the tied-up man twice while chanting mantras. Then he sat in front of him, held his face with both hands, slightly opened his mouth, and blew the hookah smoke directly into his mouth and eyes. Immediately, the man started jumping and thrashing on the courtyard floor like a fish freshly pulled out of the water, flopping around wildly. In the exact same way, Moina Thakur blew the hookah smoke into his mouth and eyes 2 more times. After that, I saw his face slowly becoming normal again. Moina Thakur simply said, "It's done. Take him home, and make sure he doesn't go fishing for the next few days. Keep an eye on him." Everyone took the man and left. In the past 1 year, I had seen many Kabirajas, but I had never seen anyone finish a case as fast as Moina Thakur. Even my own father couldn't solve problems that quickly. Right then, I realized this is the guru who can take me to my goal. I approached Moina Thakur again and begged him to accept me as his disciple, but once again, he refused. Most families in Moina Thakur's village were Hindu. That day, at Moina Thakur's house,
Just a little ways away, I spent the night on the platform of an old temple. The next morning, I went back to the guru again, but this time too, he refused. Instead, he tried to make me understand the same things my father used to say. This kind of work is dangerous. You can't do it. You shouldn't even come near this kind of thing. These matters are not good. They're extremely terrifying. All those warnings I had heard my whole life, Meena Thakur repeated them once again. When the guru finally finished speaking, I said, "Guru, I already know everything. I want to learn this knowledge, fully aware of the risks. Please, out of kindness, accept me as your disciple." This time, the guru got really angry. He pushed me hard and threw me out of his house. I felt terrible that day, but I didn't lose hope. For the next few days, from morning till evening, I stayed right in front of his house. People would come with all kinds of problems. The guru would treat them right there in the courtyard. I watched everything quietly. When evening came, if someone gave me food, I ate. Afterward, I would go lie down on the temple platform. One night, I was lying there like that when suddenly I heard a voice from behind my head. "Hey kid, you sleeping?" I turned my head. In the moonlight, I saw Meena Thakur standing there. As soon as I sat up, he sat down beside me and handed me some food wrapped in a banana leaf. He gave me some and said, "Eat, son, eat. You probably haven't eaten anything all day." I quickly started eating. Honestly, I was starving. Then the guru said, "Listen, kid, I live all alone. I never got married. Because of this work I do, I've made a lot of enemies. Sometimes at night, when I lie down to sleep, I think maybe I would have been better off if I had never gotten into this life. That's how my whole life has passed. But you still have so much beautiful time ahead of you. That's exactly why I'm stopping you." While eating, I told him, "Guru, I understand everything, but still I want to learn. Please don't turn me away." Hearing my words, the Guru let out a long sigh and said, "All right, fine. I will accept you as my disciple, but on one condition. First, I want to test your courage. Tomorrow, you'll come with me to a place. There, I'll give you a task. If you can do it, then I'll make you my disciple. But if you can't, then I'll leave you there and come back alone. Are you okay with that?" I was ready to agree to any condition. I immediately told him I was okay with it. After that, the Guru left. The next morning, I went to the front of his house and saw that he had already taken a bath in the river very early, put on a fresh dhoti, and was sitting in the courtyard. When he saw me, he asked, "Kid, have you eaten anything?" I shook my head no. He smiled and said, "Good job, son. Come inside the house. For today's work, it's actually better that you haven't eaten." As soon as I stepped into Meena Thakur's house, I understood why he never let anyone enter. His two-room house was filled everywhere with the tools and items of a traditional healer. Some things I recognized because my father had similar ones, but most of the items were completely unknown to me. He closed the door, had me sit on a ritual seat that was already arranged on the earthen floor, lit the sacred fire, and made me sit opposite him. Then he began chanting some mantras. It went on for a long time with various rituals. Afterward, he rubbed the juice of a certain leaf on my body and said, "You will stay inside this room until evening. Make sure sunlight doesn't touch your skin." Saying that, he finished the ritual and left somewhere. He returned in the late afternoon, carrying 2 large geese in his hands. As evening fell, he told me, "Come on, son, it's time to go, and listen carefully. Only answer the questions I ask you. Don't say anything extra. Don't speak at all unless I ask you something, not even a single sound. And whatever I do, you just do the same. Whatever I tell you to do, just do that. Don't try to act smart or do anything on your own." Even hearing all that, strangely, I wasn't scared. Instead, I felt excited because I was finally about to achieve something. That feeling gave me a special kind of joy. I followed right behind the Guru, carrying the 2 geese. When we reached the riverbank, I saw a small boat tied there. We placed the geese in the boat and started rowing together. We rowed for a long time. At one point, I realized we were going deep into the Sundarbans. As we went further and further in, I wondered whether I should ask where we were heading. I turned around and looked at the Guru in the light of the lantern kept in the boat, and I saw. It was as if he was scared, constantly keeping a watchful eye on both banks of the river while chanting mantras under his breath non-stop. I was getting terrified, thinking any second now a crocodile would leap out and climb onto the boat. Because in that area, at that time, crocodile attacks were really common. Anyway, eventually, our boat left the main river and entered a small, narrow canal. We rowed through that canal for about another half an hour and finally stepped off at a makeshift landing spot. After tying the boat securely, we took the 2 royal swans and started walking deep into the jungle. The jungle at night had come alive. All around us, we could hear the calls of different wild animals. That feeling, it was one of the greatest experiences of my entire life. But Thakur wasn't paying any attention to any of it. He just kept walking forward, reciting mantras. I followed closely behind him. After walking for about 20 to 25 minutes, we reached a strangely empty clearing inside the jungle. It was unnatural,
because with sal, teak, and garjan trees crowded all around, such a perfectly empty open space simply shouldn't exist. It felt like someone had deliberately cleared this spot on purpose. A place like this had no business being in the middle of the jungle. Takur walked to the center of that circular clearing, chanted some mantras, drew a circle on the ground, and tied the 2 swans inside it. Then he came over to me, grabbed my arm, and pulled me behind a thick bush a little distance away from the swans. He sat me down and said in a low voice, "Listen, son, your real job starts now. You see those 2 swans over there? In a little while, a huge tiger is going to come to eat them, and this won't be any ordinary tiger. It's going to be an enormous one. After it finishes eating, if it falls asleep right there, then you slowly walk up to it, and with your right hand, rip out as many hairs from its fur as you can in one go. After that, don't turn your back on it. Keep facing the tiger the whole time and walk backwards. Count exactly 30 steps back. Then slowly turn around and make your way back to the boat. Don't be afraid, but I'll be waiting near the boat. You have to do this part completely alone. I won't be able to help you anymore. This is your test of courage. Now, take this, rub it all over your body." Saying that, he gave me some of that same liquid he had applied in the morning. After hearing Takur's words, fear started gripping me. Some kind of unknown terror was creeping in, but the moment I rubbed that liquid thoroughly all over my body, I felt the fear ease up a little. Then Takur chanted a few more mantras, blew on my body, and slowly disappeared into the darkness, heading back toward the boat. After that, I waited. I don't even know how long I sat there staring at those royal swans. A long time passed. I was thinking, where is the tiger? It's not coming. My eyes were starting to feel heavy with sleep. Suddenly, I heard a terrifying, bone-chilling roar. It felt like the entire jungle was trembling and shaking from that roar. It was the kind of sound that would give a normal person a heart attack from pure fear. Even I got really scared. I know what a tiger's roar sounds like, but what I heard that night was not a normal tiger's roar at all. It felt like it was bursting out from the very center of the earth, cutting through everything. Then suddenly, I saw it. A massive, monstrous tiger emerged from the jungle. Its entire body fur looked like it was glowing with light, as if bright lights were shining from every strand of its coat. A strange radiance was coming out of its body, and that light lit up the entire clearing. I watched as the tiger slowly approached the swans. It gently bit the neck of one with its mouth and swallowed it in almost no time. Then it turned toward the second swan, and almost immediately, without making any sound at all, the tiger suddenly seemed to fall asleep or lose consciousness. It collapsed onto the ground and lay there. Seeing that, I didn't waste any time. Following Takur's instructions, I moved toward the tiger. As I got closer, I realized this was no ordinary tiger. It was almost 3 times bigger than a normal Royal Bengal tiger, a true monstrous beast. As Takur had told me, I held my breath, and the moment I touched the tiger's fur with my hand, suddenly it felt like the jungle all around me had started whispering, as if invisible beings were talking about me. My whole body broke out in goosebumps from fear, but still, I kept holding my breath and continued pulling out the hairs with my right hand. I managed to pull out quite a few. Then, when I was running out of breath, I slowly started backing away. I was still pulling out the wool when suddenly that tiger didn't wake up. It didn't regain consciousness at all. With the tiger still in front of me, I slowly backed away, about 10 or 12 steps, maybe more.
Then, out of nowhere, I saw these thick, pitch-black shapes, like piles of pure darkness, floating out from deep inside the jungle. They gathered around the tiger and started making this horrible, eerie wailing sound all at once. Their cries were so loud and disturbing that even more of these dark figures came pouring out of the jungle, joining in with the same terrifying noise. Looking at the tiger and then at all these shadowy things, I realized I must have miscounted. I was supposed to take 30 steps backward while keeping the tiger in front of me. Anyway, I counted to 30 in my head, just the way I wanted. The moment I finished counting and turned around, the second I spun around to stand, all those black shadowy piles stopped making noise at the exact same time. It felt like everything had suddenly frozen, and with their silence, a massive, heavy quiet fell over the entire jungle, so deep that not even a single cricket could be heard. Total silence. I turned my head and looked back under the moonlight. Every single one of those dark figures had turned to face exactly where I was standing, completely still. It felt like they were staring right at me. Then, slowly, they started moving toward me. I knew right then I wasn't going to make it out alive. They were going to finish me right there. I just stood frozen in that same spot, thinking this is it. My life ends here. There's nothing left I can do. But here's the strange part. These shadowy figures surprised me. Instead of attacking, they passed right by me, floated over my head, and spread out in every direction along the path I had come from, searching for something. That's when I realized they couldn't actually see me, but they could sense I was there. They were looking for me. I didn't waste another second. I started walking as quietly as I could, and after a short distance, I broke into a full run. The whole time, I kept thinking any moment now they would grab me from behind, but no one came. Eventually, I reached the boat. There was Mana Thakur, sitting on the ground performing a yajna, chanting mantras. The moment he saw me, he opened his eyes, let out a deep sigh of relief, and quickly helped me onto the boat. I was shaking with fear and adrenaline. The second I got on the boat, I passed out. When I finally regained consciousness, I was lying in Mana Thakur's room. He was sitting right beside my head. As soon as I opened my eyes, he smiled and said, "Well done, my boy, you did it. Once you feel a little better, we'll begin your Tantra initiation. Now, give me the wool." I had kept the wool in both my pockets. I took out the ones from one pocket and handed them to him, then asked, "Thakur, what are these going to be used for?" Instead of answering, he said, "There's no more, right? You don't have any wool left with you, do you?" I shook my head and said no, but the truth was I still had some left in my other pocket. I was a little suspicious about what he was really going to do with them. My conscience and my brain both told me not to give him everything. Let's see what he can do with just these, I thought. So I only gave him the wool from one pocket. He took them and went inside the room. Exactly 2 days later, my initiation began. After watching Thakur's methods, I understood clearly none of this was supported by any religion, especially not by Islam. These were completely different kinds of practices that didn't follow the normal rules of any standard faith. But thinking about all that wasn't going to help me. What I needed was power. At that time, I didn't have the maturity to worry about what was halal and what was haram. Thakur loved me like his own son. After 4 straight years of learning from him, one day Thakur called me and said, "My son, today your initiation is complete. If you want, you can stay here with me and continue the work, or if you prefer, you can leave." I told him I had my mother and father back home. They were worried sick and crying for me, so I wanted to go back. A few days later, after packing everything up, I left. Thakur had tears in his eyes as he bade me farewell. After saying goodbye to Mana Thakur, I finally returned to my village. But when I got back home, for the first time in my life, I came face to face with a terrifying reality. After being away for so long and finally returning, my mother's eyes. The water wouldn't stop flowing. The whole neighborhood came rushing to see me. Everyone had so many questions. Even the relatives who lived far away heard the news and rushed over to see me. "Where have you been all these years? What were you doing?" They all thought I was probably dead, but here I was, the unfortunate one, returning home after so many years. I had left my family behind, and while I was gone, I learned Kabiraji, Tantra Vidya, black magic, sorcery, all of it. After mastering those skills, I came back to the village, to my family, excited to show them what I had learned. But the moment I arrived, I heard the shocking news. 6 months earlier, he had gone to Dhaka to treat a relative we all knew and fell from the rooftop. He died on the spot. That person was none other than my father. I cried so hard when I heard the news. Yes, it's true, I had left the family and stayed away for years, but I loved my father deeply. All that pain, all that hard work and sadhana I went through, and my father never got to see any of it. After that, I stayed away from Tantra and black magic for quite some time because I hadn't told the truth to the people in our area. They only knew I had learned traditional herbal medicine. My mother was still alive back then, so I started taking care of her, feeding her, handling all the household chores, and quietly waited for the right opportunity, the perfect moment when I could surprise everyone and finally begin practicing my real skills. Thankfully, I didn't have to wait too long. One afternoon, I came back from outside, sat down to eat, and asked my mother, "Ma, why did Baba go to Dhaka that time?" Mother replied with tears in her eyes, "Your cousin Javed's family was having some problems, so Javed himself came with his car and took my father with him. 3 days later, the same car brought my father back, but this time he was wrapped in a coffin." As soon as she said that, Mother broke down crying. I didn't ask anything more. Only one question kept spinning in my head. What exactly was my father doing there? A few days later, I took the address and went to Dhaka to my cousin's house, determined to find out the real story. My brother lived in the Dolapur area of Dhaka. My elder uncle had made good money through business and built a house there. My father used to visit that place often, but it was my first time going. It was a new area, so it took me a while to find the house, but eventually I did. I knocked on the door. My cousin opened it just a little, peeked out, and asked who it was. When I introduced myself, he looked shocked, stared at me for a few seconds, then stepped outside and hugged me tightly, saying, "Brother, believe me, none of us are responsible for Uncle's death. I still don't understand what really happened." I told him, "We'll talk about all that later, brother. First, let me come inside. Or are you planning to finish the conversation right here at the door and send me away?" Hearing my words, he felt embarrassed, quickly stepped aside and let me enter. The moment I stepped inside the house, I felt it. This place wasn't right. There was some kind of heavy fear hanging in the air and a strange burnt smell all around. I sat down in the living room. My cousin came close and whispered, "Brother, you sit here. I'll go call Mom." A little later, my aunt and a cute little 6 or 7-year-old girl came out from the inner room. As soon as she entered, she started scolding me in a low voice. "Why did you leave home like that without telling anyone? Does anyone disappear like that?" And so on. After a while, she couldn't hold back and started crying.
I was trying to console her with some comforting words when my cousin came back from inside with some food. Seeing the food, I asked him, "Hey, where's Bobby? I don't see her anywhere." The moment I said that, my cousin quickly covered my mouth with his hand and whispered urgently, "Speak softly, brother, speak softly. If her sleep breaks, there will be trouble." I noticed that as soon as I mentioned Bobby, the little girl quickly hid in her grandmother's chest. I thought to myself, Bobby must be physically unwell and sleeping. That's why everyone was being so careful. I didn't say anything else and finished eating quietly. My uncle had passed away almost 5 years ago. I wasn't here at that time. We were all sitting and talking in low voices when suddenly, from inside the house, several deep masculine screams erupted at the same time. That scream sent a chill down my spine. I saw my cousin, aunt, and my sister-in-law, her name is Soma, all jump back in terror. When the scream happened again, I asked my cousin in shock, "Who is screaming like that?" My cousin replied in a very sad and painful voice, "That's your Bobby's voice." I was stunned by his answer. How could a woman's voice sound so terrifying and deep? Gathering some courage, my cousin stood up and said, "Come, let me show you. It'll be better if you see it yourself. You won't believe me otherwise." I followed him as he walked toward the inner part of the house. We stopped in front of a room. I noticed something like a protective amulet hanging on the door. Anyway, my cousin opened the door and went inside. A minute or two later, he called out, "Come inside, brother." The moment I stepped through the doorway, I felt a massive shock. What was that on the bed? A human or something else? From the face down to the neck, whatever part of the body was visible.
Her entire body was covered in deep scratch marks. Her whole skin had turned a pale, ghostly white. Her eyes, there was nothing but the white part left. Even the black pupils looked like they had faded into white. She had pulled her clothes as much as she could to cover herself. It was obvious why. Both of her hands were tied tightly to the bed. The moment I stepped into the room, the woman turned her face toward me and gave a creepy, twisted smile. "Hey, Tantric," she said. "You finally showed up after so long. You should have come much earlier. If you had come sooner, your Kabiraj father wouldn't have had to die." I stayed silent and just listened to her. She continued with that same eerie grin. "What are you thinking? Don't you recognize me? I only came here to deliver a message, but now that I'm here, I don't feel like leaving anymore. Do you want to know what message I brought? The news is, your time has already begun." Saying that, while still lying down, she folded her knees and tried to bring her face between them. Then she started rocking side to side. Her hands were tied to both sides of the bed, but she kept swaying anyway, laughing in the most unnatural, disturbing way. I watched all of this and quickly stepped outside. I called out to my brother, "Hey bro, come here." He was standing a little distance away. Then I told him firmly, "Bro, I'll treat Bobby myself tomorrow. Until then, keep her locked in this room. If needed, tie her up even tighter. Make sure she doesn't get out under any circumstances. Tomorrow morning, I'll gather everything I need, and at night, I'll perform the ritual right here on your rooftop." At first, my brother strongly objected to my words, but when I insisted a little, he grabbed my hand and said, "Brother, I don't want anything bad to happen to you, but I also want my wife to get well." I asked him, "Tell me exactly how it all started and when. Give me the full story, bro." Then my brother began to explain. "It started almost a year ago. One night, while we were sleeping, Bobby suddenly screamed and woke up crying hysterically. No matter how many times I asked her, she wouldn't tell me why she was crying. The next morning, everything seemed normal again. She was fine all day, until suddenly, while cooking, she let out a loud scream and shouted, "Javed, what is this? Come quick, Javed!" When I rushed into the kitchen, I saw her lying on the floor, convulsing violently, and reddish foam was coming out of her mouth. We searched everywhere, trying to figure out what had happened. Then, suddenly, something moved outside the kitchen window, like a shadow that quickly slipped away. There was no time to check what it was. Seeing her condition, I got scared and immediately took her to the doctor. Within a short time after reaching the doctor, she regained consciousness and became completely normal. But after bringing her back home, strange behavior started just a couple of days later. Bobby began acting weird. There was always this dark, blackish smoke floating around the house, moving from room to room, even though there was no source of any smoke. Everyone in the house was terrified, and my daughter Soma, she would wake up from sleep looking extremely scared. There was a reason for that too. One day I came back and saw Bobby had left Soma with her grandmother and gone to take a bath. Suddenly I heard my mother screaming. When I rushed out, I saw Bobby had woken up, grabbed Soma by the throat, and was choking her, while my mother was desperately trying to pull her hands away. With great difficulty, I managed to free Soma and locked Bobby in a room. For some time, we even sent her to her father's house, but her madness didn't stop there either. That's why we brought her back here. After that, we started calling different huzours and molvis, but they all just took money and left without doing anything. Then, one day, my mother came to me and said, "Go to the village and bring your middle uncle. He has been practicing Kabiraji for many years." At first, I didn't want to go. Everyone was a bit afraid of my middle uncle because he worked with jinns and spirits. Plus, there was the question of whether he would even come to Dhaka. Anyway, after thinking about it for 2 or 3 days and seeing no other option, I finally went to the village to bring him. When he heard everything, my uncle felt very sorry and agreed to come with me to Dhaka. The day he arrived, the moment he entered the house, he wrinkled his nose and mouth, looked at me and asked, "Kida,
Dad, did you burn hair or something in the room? Why does it smell so freaking bad?" Javed looked at him and replied, "No, Uncle. Why would I burn hair? And what smell? I don't smell anything." Without saying another word, Uncle went inside, did his ablution, and headed straight to Bobby's room. When Uncle saw Bobby's condition, she suddenly screamed, "Kobiraj, bring me what belongs to my master! My master can't breathe any longer, or else the real chaos is about to start!" Uncle sat right beside her, placed his hand on her forehead, and started reciting something under his breath. After a few moments, she slowly calmed down. Then, in a completely normal voice, she asked, "Javed, who is this man?" I answered, "He's our second eldest uncle. He's come to treat you." Suddenly, Bobby asked him, "Uncle, what's your son's name? Farid?" When Uncle nodded yes, Bobby turned to Javed and said, "You, step outside for a bit. I need to talk to your uncle alone." Javed left the room. Later, when he asked Uncle what they had talked about, Uncle didn't say much. He just replied, "Son, it's better you don't know everything. Some things you're not supposed to know." Honestly, I still don't know what was actually said. Javed told me asking about it was strictly forbidden. Once Uncle said no, you couldn't ask a second time. That's why Javed never brought it up again. That same day, Bobby became completely normal again. She got up by herself, started cooking, doing housework. Everything felt totally fine. That evening, Uncle said, "I'll go up to the rooftop alone. No one should come to that side of the roof. I need to talk with the spirits that are with me."
I wanted to do it tonight, but I'm really exhausted, so I'll sleep now and handle everything tomorrow." Javed agreed. Uncle finished eating and didn't say anything else. The next day, everything was calm all morning, but from afternoon onward, the restlessness started again. Uncle had gone out somewhere for this matter. He returned right after Maghrib prayer. As soon as he entered the house, he checked on Soma's mother once, then told Javed, "I'm going up to the roof now. Make sure no one comes to that side, and keep an eye on this side." A little while later, everyone heard loud shouting and screaming from downstairs. They rushed to the balcony and looked down. A big crowd had gathered below the building. Some familiar faces were calling Javed's name urgently. Javed ran downstairs and saw that his uncle had fallen from the roof and was badly injured. Without wasting a second, he rushed him to the hospital. But before the doctors could even begin proper treatment, Uncle took his last breath right in Javed's arms. That's how Javed described the whole incident to Farid. After finishing the story, Javed looked at him and said, "Believe me, brother, I tried my best to get Uncle to the hospital as fast as possible, but I don't know what happened. That was the very first day after I bought the car. Suddenly, the tire got punctured right in the middle of the road, and the engine just died. I couldn't understand why it was all happening like that, but on the way back, the car was perfectly fine. Now you tell me, was any of this my fault? Did I kill my uncle?" After hearing everything, I stayed quiet for a while. Then I said, "Brother, tomorrow morning I'll bring some things. I'll also tell you exactly what I need. You just gather them for me. I'll handle the rest." After saying that, I went back to Bobby's room and saw she was sleeping. Taking the opportunity, I drew a protective circle around her bed using flour that I had recited mantras over. Then I warned everyone, "Until I finish my work tomorrow, no one is allowed to open this room's door." The next day, after gathering everything, we started the ritual in the evening. When I said I would do the sitting on the rooftop, my brother wasn't ready at all, because that was exactly where our father had fallen to death. Finally, he agreed on one condition, that he would stay there with me. I had no choice but to accept. He just wouldn't let me go up there alone. So I went up to the roof and sat in meditation, exactly at the spot directly above the room where Bobby was lying, right above her position. First, I summoned several high-ranking Pishach-type jinns that were loyal to me and used to work for me. I warned my brother again, "Don't open your eyes or leave your spot until I tell you it's over." Once my preparations were complete, I began calling the devil that was possessing Bobby's body. After calling for quite some time, suddenly, thud, we heard a heavy sound on top of the water tank. I looked up and saw only darkness. A thick black mass had gathered there, twisting and moving. I could tell it had arrived, but you couldn't make out its head, hands, or legs. It was just a shapeless pile of pure darkness. As soon as I gave the signal, my loyal Pishach jinns grabbed that thing and started beating it mercilessly. The entire building was shaking violently from their force. At one point, that devil screamed out loud, "Hey, Tantric, tell them to stop. They're going to kill me. I didn't come here willingly, Tantric. Tell them to stop."
Hearing his screams, I told them to stop. Then I asked, "Why did you attack this family?" He replied, "I did this under my master's command." "Who is your master? What kind of enmity does he have with this family?" I asked another question, and at that he went silent, didn't say a single word. I warned him again, "If you don't want to be beaten again, speak quickly." Then he said, "Tantric, even if you beat me to death, I will never reveal my master's name. I have strict orders. But I can tell you this much, I did not kill your father. My master did. He pushed him, threw him off this rooftop. I realized he wouldn't say anything more, so I used my mind and said, "Fine, I am letting you go. But if you ever come near this house again, I'll kill you for good. Now get out of here." As soon as he left, I sent the demonic jinn I had summoned after him to find out whose orders he was following. But unfortunately, those 4 or 5 loyal jinn of mine never returned. I never found out what really happened. What happened to them? Were they captured? Did they become loyal to that jinn, or were they killed? I never got any answers. I tried calling them many times, but no one came back, and no other jinn could give me any information about them either. After finishing everything, I turned around and saw my brother had fainted. I rushed to him and sprinkled water on his face. After a while, he regained consciousness. He later told me he had briefly opened his eyes, saw those terrifying beings being beaten, and fainted out of fear. Anyway, I brought him downstairs and saw my aunt holding my sister-in-law tightly crying, and also hugging my niece while crying. There were tears in my sister-in-law's eyes, but those were tears of relief, of joy. It was clear enough. As my brother Javed went closer to them, I quietly stepped away, went into the living room, sat down for a while and started thinking. The words of that devil I had driven away kept echoing in my mind, raising countless questions, but I had no answers. After a while, my brother came and said, "Farid, your sister-in-law is calling you. Come, see her." As soon as I entered her room, I could feel it. The air had become lighter. I knew the danger was gone. As I sat beside her, she said in a weak voice, "Brother, I don't know what you did or how you did it, but I feel much better now. I feel light. It feels like a huge mountain has been lifted off my head. I had so much to tell you, but right now I can't remember anything." After hearing that, I said, "You don't need to say anything now. Just focus on getting better. You can tell me later when you remember." I stayed there for about a week more. When she recovered somewhat, I gave her some protective remedies and returned to my village. Before leaving, I told my brother, "Arrange something for me in Dhaka. I want to stay there." I didn't have to wait long. About 2 months later, my brother sent someone to bring me to Dhaka. In the Dholaipare area of Dhaka, he arranged a 2-room place for me on the rooftop of a building. The place was perfect for my work, and that's when the better phase of my life began. At first, I didn't get much work, but gradually with Javed's help, my work started growing. Along with that, I was earning good money. I brought my mother from the village, but she didn't like the nature of my work. She forbade me from practicing these occult rituals. But at that time, money meant everything to me. Unable to tolerate it, my mother went back to the village, and I didn't stop her because she was becoming an obstacle in my work. Every month, I used to send a large amount.
I used to send money to my mother every month. After she passed away, I finally found out what she was actually doing with it. She was using every single taka I sent to pay for the education of several orphan children. But she never spent any of it on herself, not even 1 taka for her own needs. She lived like that for many years. Eventually, I started feeling that the small work I was doing, performing exorcisms, removing black magic, finding lost items, it wasn't enough anymore. I needed to do something bigger. One day, I casually mentioned this to one of my regular wealthy female clients. She used to visit me often for different problems, and she always got results. I told her I wasn't feeling satisfied with these small jobs anymore. If I got a really big opportunity, I might even leave this area and move somewhere else. She stayed quiet for a moment, then said, "Farid Bhai, actually, I do have one such job with me, but I don't know how you'll feel about it." I asked her directly, "What kind of job? Tell me." She replied, "Not right now. I won't say it today. Tomorrow I'll come back with my husband. His name is Mishu. He'll explain everything properly. I'm not good at explaining these things." The very next evening, she returned with her husband, just as she promised. I was noting down a ritual in my diary when they walked in.
I closed it immediately, offered them seats, and sat down in front of them. The moment I looked at Mishu, I noticed his eyes. They were sharp, bright, and extremely cunning. My guru, Thakur Mona Thakur, had taught me how to read people through their eyes. This man was clearly very clever and sly. Without wasting any time on small talk, Mishu went straight to the point. My wife told me about you. I have a job that needs to be done with extreme secrecy and caution. I couldn't find the right person for it. Then I heard you're very good at what you do, so I came. He continued, let me be clear from the start. Whether you accept this job or not, whether you can do it or not a single soul, not even a bird, should ever hear about this. That's my condition. I agreed to his condition. Then he said, your job is to kill a man, not through natural sickness, I mean completely remove him from this world. I was shocked. He said it so casually, as if taking a life meant nothing to him. Right then, I understood this Mishu was not a good man. His words only confirmed it. I asked him, Mishubai, who do you want me to kill? He answered without hesitation, my own elder brother. We've had serious conflicts for a long time over property, land, and business shares. The only solution is to remove him permanently. If it was someone unrelated, I could have easily hired people to do it. But since it's my own brother, I need it done so quietly that no one suspects anything. No police, no investigation, nothing. This is the only way left for me. He added, don't worry, if you complete this job successfully, I'll pay you a huge amount of money, plus a very special gift that you could never even imagine. When he told me the amount, my mind went blank. 1 lakh taka. Back in the 1980s, that was an enormous amount of money. Greed overpowered my conscience. I didn't think much longer and agreed. I instructed them to bring me some personal items belonging to the target. Deep inside, I felt hesitation, but lust for money won. 3 days later, they brought everything. I began the black magic rituals. I don't want to describe those dirty, forbidden methods. I performed the rituals in 5 phases over several days and finally sent a powerful evil spirit after him. Exactly 67 days later, Mishu's elder brother died. About 2 weeks after the funeral, Mishu came back. He handed me the cash and transferred a plot of land in the Gopibagh area of Dhaka in my name. He said, you won't have to live in a rented house anymore. Build a beautiful home here. I'll take care of all the construction materials and costs. I've already given you the clear title deed. I accepted everything, but strangely, I couldn't feel any real happiness from that money. After that, thanks to Mishu's connections, many powerful and wealthy people started coming to me. I began earning massive wealth, mostly by performing dark, harmful work for big payments. This continued for several more years. In 1990, I got married. The next 5 years were like a dream. A big, beautiful house, lots of money, a gorgeous wife, and a luxurious lifestyle. All of it built on the suffering of others. That was the only good part of the darkness. But when I learned that my wife could never have children, something inside me whispered, this was the beginning of the consequences for my sins. And after that, the real dark chapter of my life began.
In 1995, on a stormy, rainy evening, a man named Saju Shikdar came to me along with Mishu. But this Saju was way above all my previous clients in terms of money, power, and influence. After introducing himself, he slowly started talking about the job. He was a powerful leader in the District Council of South Bengal. Besides that, he ran many legal and illegal businesses in Dhaka. Saju's request was similar to Mishu's previous jobs, but this time the matter felt much more complicated and darker. What he wanted me to do was cast a deadly black magic spell
a Maranban, or an every male member of a certain family, so that all the men in that house would die within 3 months. That way he could run for the Upazila election scheduled 8 months later. There was no other way for him. The family didn't have much money, but they had a very good reputation in the area, and the local people strongly supported them. In Saju's case, it was exactly the opposite. He had plenty of money, but nobody in the area really liked him. When I suggested he should take a separate nomination instead, he sharply said, "The people I'm giving you this job for are my own elder uncle, who is the current chairman, his 2 sons, the eldest son's 2 sons, and the youngest son's 1 son. That makes 6 people in total. You have to take care of all of them. If any of them stay alive, they will create obstacles in all my plans. Don't bother yourself with whether I take nomination or not, what I will do or won't do. You won't understand these things. Your advice is of no use to me in this matter. Politics is complicated. Let me handle it my way. You won't understand it, so don't give me any suggestions. Just do what you know best. Hit these people with the Maranban and make sure not a single one, not even the old man, is left out." After saying this, Saju, through Mishu, pulled out a bundle of 50,000 taka and handed it to me, saying, "Here, take this. Start the work immediately. You'll get more later. Whatever you want, you'll get it." I noticed that his way of speaking was not a request. It was clearly an order. Everyone else always requested me politely, but this man was commanding me. After they left, I fell into deep worry. With my knowledge and power, I could kill the most important person in a family with black magic and make the other blood relatives seriously ill. But even that process usually took around 77 days. Now I had to finish it in such a short time. I couldn't figure out what to do. After thinking long and hard, one solution came to my mind: Mana Thakur. I could take help from Mana Thakur. No sooner thought than done. The very next morning, I left Dhaka, heading towards Mana Thakur's house. On the way, I felt a bit scared, wondering whether I would even find him alive. When I reached the place, I did find him, but Mana Thakur was no longer the powerful man I once knew. He was lying on a bed, old, thin, weak, and living in miserable poverty. One of his eyes was completely blind from cataract, and the other eye also had a developing cataract. As soon as I called out Thakur, he slowly sat up with great effort and told me to sit beside him. Honestly, seeing his condition, instead of feeling pity, I became even more irritated. I thought maybe I had made a mistake by coming here. This man probably couldn't do any work anymore. No patients came to him, his hands weren't steady, he might even ask me for money now. I wasn't feeling any interest at all. Still, despite my reluctance, I sat down next to Mana Thakur. He gently ran his hand over my face and said, "Son, why do I smell blood on your body? That means my prediction was not wrong. I knew that one day you would come to me, and I also knew that your greed would bring you here. Anyway, tell me quickly why you've come, then leave. I can't tolerate the smell of blood coming from your body." These words from Thakur made me extremely angry. But my guru is still my guru, so without arguing with him, I directly told him why I had come. After hearing my words, Thakur let out a long sigh and said, "Son, the work you are about to do is not right at all. What you were doing before was one thing, but the kind of magic required to bind time and completely destroy someone, you're not ready for that yet. Drop it. Just drop this job." After hearing this, I replied, "I can't drop it, Thakur. I've already taken the advance money, and the man who gave me the job is very powerful. If I back out now, he'll be the one who destroys me instead." Hearing my words, Mana Thakur said, "Oh, my boy, don't do this work. That man can't do anything to you. I'll handle the matter myself." After hearing that, I completely lost control of myself and shouted back in a very angry voice, "Thakur, you've got cataracts in one eye and can barely see with the other. You can't even see what's right in front of your hand, and you think you'll solve my problem?
Fine, I didn't come empty-handed this time anyway. Just tell me what needs to be done for this job, and in return, I'll give you a large sum of money so you can live comfortably for the next few years." Hearing this, Mana Thakur burst out laughing with a pale, hoarse voice. "Ho, ho, ho," and then said, "Oh, dear boy, you're trying to weigh a guru down with money, and that too with money earned by selling the knowledge you learned from me. Anyway, you don't need to give me anything. Whatever I had to take from you, I already took a long time ago. You won't understand what it was. Now listen, this kind of magic cannot be done alone by any tantric. For these kinds of jobs, you need the help of powerful, high-level wizard jinns. But getting involved with them means selling yourself completely to them, and you have no idea what the consequences of that will be, my son." I said, "Thakur, you don't need to worry about what will or won't happen to me. Just tell me, whose help should I take to get this done?" Thakur replied, "It's better not to take anyone's help for this kind of work, but since you're so stubborn, I can give you one name. I won't say anything more than that." I said, "Just tell me the name, nothing else." After hearing this, I added, "Just give me the name, I'll handle the rest." Hearing my stubborn words, Mana Thakur stayed silent for a while, looking worried, finally saying, "His name is Nahud Fedala. This Nahud Fedala is another name for terror, another name for fear. He is a terrifying black magician, an Ifrit-class Jinn, as cunning as cruel. He is the leader of a fearsome tribe of dark magic. His tribe's name is Soon. It's safest to stay far away from him." But Thakur didn't finish his warning, and I didn't press him either. I had gotten what I needed. When I tried to give him the money, he refused, saying, "There's fresh blood on that money. I won't take it." I didn't stay longer. As I was getting up to leave, Thakur called out from behind, "Son, if you really go to work with Nahud Fedala, then think very carefully with a cool head before agreeing to his conditions." That was my last meeting and last conversation with Mana Thakur. I spent the night in a residential hotel in the nearby town and returned to Dhaka the next morning. As soon as I reached Dhaka, I sent my wife to her father's house. That very night, I sat in my ritual seat and tried every method I knew to summon Nahud Fedala and make contact with him, but every attempt failed. For 3 straight days of failure, I sent another powerful demon jinn that works for me to deliver my invitation to Nahud Fedala, asking him to meet me. That night, after eating and drinking, I went to sleep. It was very late. I don't know exactly what time it was. Suddenly, a loud noise woke me up. Boom! Lying there with my eyes still closed, I thought, what was that sound? While I was wondering, I suddenly felt my bed shaking slightly. For a moment, I thought an earthquake had started in Dhaka, but when I opened my eyes and looked around, everything was pitch black, thick, heavy darkness everywhere. I was sitting on my bed in the middle of nothing but complete darkness. It felt like I was floating alone in a vast black ocean of darkness. I became extremely terrified because my windows were supposed to let in light from outside, and Dhaka is always full of lights, but there was nothing.
There was no light. The power had gone out. What the hell was I supposed to do? How was I going to get out of this darkness? I was thinking when suddenly, right in front of me, from above my head, a terrifying sight dropped onto the bed, a severed head. Even in the pitch darkness, I could still see that thing clearly. No animal, no creature could possibly have such a grotesque, twisted face. Terrified, I curled up, scrambled backward, and started trying to protect my body. But over and over again, the mantras I had known for years were slipping from my mind.
Suddenly, from somewhere in the darkness, a horrifying voice emerged, a voice so terrifying it's impossible to describe. It sounded like a woman, a man, an old woman, a child, and an animal, all speaking at the exact same time in the exact same voice, saying the exact same words. I heard it clearly. "Hey, Tantric, you invited me and now you're scared? Do you know whose head this is in front of you? The one you invited and sent? One of its spirits obeyed the order of a worthless little tantric like you and brought the invitation to me. That's why I cut off its head and left it for you. Remember this, if you ever want to meet me again, you must worship me first, then call me. There is a specific method to call me, and the instructions for the proper worship are inside this head. Go ahead and search for it. Now, get out of my sight." The moment those words ended, it felt like my bed suddenly started flipping over in the darkness. I squeezed my eyes shut, gripped the edge of the bed with all my strength, and screamed at the top of my lungs. A few moments later, everything became normal again, but I wasn't dreaming, because when I opened my eyes, I was still in my own room, and on the bed lay that severed head. That night, I didn't have the courage to do anything else. I put that horrifying head inside a jute bag, carried it to my ritual room, and sat there frozen. Only toward the end of the night did my eyes finally close. The next morning, when I woke up, I saw that the head was no longer in that terrifying form. It had transformed into a pig's head. Shocked, I picked it up and realized it was hollow inside. I reached in and found 2 small leather pouches. I opened the first one and discovered the complete ritual to summon Nahud Fedala. The instructions were written in pure Sanskrit. The late guru had taught me this language so I could understand it, because many powerful mantras are written in Sanskrit. But the second pouch, no matter what I did, it wouldn't open. I couldn't find any seam or opening. If I pulled too hard, it might tear, and whatever was inside could be destroyed, so I decided not to mess with it anymore. After what I experienced just by inviting Nahud Fedala, I was too scared to actually seek its help. I'm quite skilled in Tantra, you could say, but every practitioner knows their own limits. I realized that Nahud Fedala's power was on a completely different level. It was far more powerful than anything I had ever encountered in all my years of dealing with spirits and demons. That day, I understood I should have listened to the late guru's warning. After thinking about it all day, I made up my mind. No, I'm not doing this job. I'll return the money. I don't want to invite any more danger by calling Nahud Fedala. So I told Mishu, the guy who had come to me, that I wouldn't do the work. Mishu went and informed Saju Shikdar. 2 days later, Saju Shikdar showed up at my house with a group of men. Mishu was with them. The moment they entered, without saying a single word, Saju slapped me hard across the face. Then he pulled out a gun, pointed it at my head, and said, "I don't want to hear the word no from you. I've already explained so much. Now I have no choice. You have to do this job. If you refuse, I'll have to eliminate you, because now you know everything. If you ever open your mouth, it'll create huge problems for me. I'm going into politics. I have to be extremely careful about these things. I'll pay you more if you want, but this work, you will do it. You have no choice." After saying that, they left. I can't even describe the state I was in. Later, after thinking long and hard, I decided this would be my last job. After this, I would never do any black magic work again. Following that decision, I gathered everything needed. 2 or 3 days later, I performed a special and elaborate worship with 3 or 4 different offerings and prayed for Nahud Fedala's assistance. By the time I finished everything, it was already around 1 or 2 in the morning. I sat on my ritual seat, chanted the invocation mantra for Nahud, and began deep meditation, focusing completely on the ritual.
Suddenly, on the other side of my seat, at the far end of the room, the floor cracked open and thick dark green smoke started rising slowly, growing bigger and becoming visible. It kept expanding until it reached from the floor all the way to the ceiling, then spread out, surrounding me and filling the entire room. I was extremely scared, and just as suddenly as it had started, the smoke vanished. From within it emerged a massive figure covered in pale black cloth.
Here it comes. Suddenly, dark, tall, shadowy figures, completely bodiless, surrounded me from all sides. Just by looking at them, it was clear that the giant one in the middle was their leader. That massive being spoke in a harsh, gravelly voice. "Done trick. I don't talk much with humans. You asked for my help, and I will do the job for you. But in return, whatever I demand, you must give it to me without asking any second questions." Nahud Fedala's voice was so terrifying, it sounded like every creature on earth was screaming at the same time. As soon as he finished, I replied, "O great ruler of the Sun Clan, welcome. Please forgive me. What could a small, lowly tantric like me possibly have to offer someone as mighty as you?" Before I could even finish my sentence, I noticed the candle flames in my ritual room suddenly dimmed sharply. They didn't go out completely, but they became very weak. At the same moment, Nahud Fedala floated up into the air, came right up to me, and said in a cold, hard voice, "I don't like flattery. Answer exactly what I ask, no more, no less. You won't gain anything by buttering me up. I am no one's slave. I follow only the devil. My master is Satan. I am not a slave to anyone else. No matter how much you try, you cannot make me do even one extra thing, and you will find no mercy in me, so there's no point in saying all that. I repeat, answer only as much as I ask, nothing more. If I complete your work, remember that many years ago, you stole a tiger's whisker from the Sundarbans. You remember that, don't you? I will do your job. In exchange, you will give me that whisker. Do we have a deal?" I was completely shocked when I heard this, because no one else in the world knew about that tiger whisker. I had given some things to Mona Thakur, but the ones in my other pocket, I never gave those to him. Even the dead Thakur didn't know about them. After bringing them, I had turned that whisker into a protective amulet and kept it hanging around my neck. Honestly, I had even forgotten about it myself. But how did this Nahud Fedala know about it? The question flashed in my mind, but I quickly pushed it away. I couldn't ask him that. If I asked, I would have to answer whatever he demanded in return. Besides, for such a powerful Jinn, knowing this was probably nothing special. And anyway, that whisker wasn't useful to me anymore. So, without thinking too much, I agreed to his condition in a single word. Then Nahud said, "Everything you need to do is written on that second piece of skin. Whatever you require, you'll find it all inside." After hearing that, I said, "But boss, I can't open it." Nahud let out a mocking laugh and replied, "Without my command, not you, not even a tantric 1,000 times more powerful than you, could open it. Now I command you, open it. When your work is finished, I will come and take what is mine. Whatever I have demanded from you, I will take it. You gave your word that you would give it to me, and if you don't, you already know very well what your fate will be." As soon as he said this, green smoke rose from beneath his feet, and they all vanished into thin air.
The floor they had emerged from looked completely normal again. They had been standing there the whole time, yet I never saw any of their faces. After they disappeared, I sat down with the leather pouch made from the second skin. With just a little effort, it opened easily. Inside were 3 pumpkin seeds and a small amount of bright red powdered clay. I set them aside and found a piece of paper inside the pouch. I read all the instructions written on it carefully, learned every rule of the ritual, and began the work immediately. After completing some steps, I took the head of that impure animal and placed inside it the black magic paper with the writings. On top of that, I put the ashes collected from the cremation ground, ashes of people who had committed suicide. I covered everything with those ashes, placed the pumpkin seeds on top, mixed in the red clay powder, and pressed it down firmly. Then, following the rules of this magic, the blood of the one performing the ritual, the blood of the one who ordered it, that is, Saju Sikdar, and my own blood, since I was the one carrying it out, all of it had to be used to moisten the earth. Since I was present, I gave my own blood. The moment I dripped the blood, the mixture absorbed it completely. Not a single drop remained visible. The soil didn't even look wet. It was as if the blood had vanished. But then again, this was black magic. Nothing about it was supposed to make normal sense. I finished all the mantras and started chanting the next ones. By the time everything was complete, it was almost noon. I ate a little something, kept the prepared items safely, and left for Saju Shikdar's place. I found him and said, "Brother, my work is done. Now your job is to collect the leftover food eaten by all the people you want to cast the spell on."
If you can't bring me the live person, then get me their hair, nails, or any piece of clothing they've worn but never washed. Something personal, something they've actually used. Within a week, the sadhu gathered everything. Someone's hair, someone's nails, someone's worn clothes. Whatever he could get, he brought it exactly as it was. So I took all those items, laid them on the ground, and covered them completely with one of Saju's own used shirts. I had already told Saju, "I'll also need one of your used clothes, a few strands of your hair, and some nail clippings." I had a special plan behind this. After combining everything, I wrapped the whole bundle tightly in a red cloth. Then, late at night, Saju and I went to a secret spot, exactly 90 yards from the target house. It was hidden deep in the bushes, where sunlight never reaches and no one ever goes. We dug a hole and buried it there. On the way back, Saju kept apologizing again and again for slapping me that day. If I were a normal person, I would have forgiven him, but I'm not normal. I'm a sinner, a tantric, so I didn't forgive him. Instead, I deliberately included his clothes, hair, and nails in the ritual. I made him part of this death spell too. That means once everyone in that house starts dying, Saju's suffering would begin right after. He would slowly get affected by the same black magic. He would either die a painful death or go completely insane and wander around like a madman before finally dying. 11 days after we buried it, Saju came to me beaming with joy and said, "The magic has started working." When I asked how he knew, he told me that 2 days earlier, his 10-year-old nephew, the youngest kid in the house, suddenly started vomiting blood at night and died on the spot. At the funeral, Saju learned that his uncle had also fallen seriously ill. The moment I heard that a child had died, for the first time in my life, I felt deep regret and guilt, but I didn't show it in front of Saju. After our conversation, he handed me 200,000 taka in cash and promised, "When the job is fully done, I'll give you 5 times more, 10 lakh taka total." At that moment, I felt like slapping myself in the face with my own shoe. I had done death spells before, but never on innocent children. This was the first time.
After Saju left, I sat thinking for a long time and finally decided I would at least try to lift the spell from the remaining children, but I didn't know how. This ritual had used Nahud Fedala's power, so I would need his help to reverse it, but I couldn't just call him like that. That evening, I summoned some of my old demonic jinns. I had many jinns, but quite a few had already died. I called the ones that were still alive and asked them how to break this spell. None of them could give me an answer. I couldn't sleep the entire night. I searched through all my books, even my father's old books, but found nothing on how to remove this kind of magic. At dawn, as soon as I heard the Fajr Azan, I left everything and stepped out onto the balcony. Suddenly, from the rooftop of the second floor, a voice shouted, "Hey, kid, don't give those hairs to Nahud. You didn't even give them to your own master. You hid them, but listen carefully. Don't you dare hand them over to him." I quickly looked up and clearly saw a munti standing on the rooftop, staring down at me. It was the monkey that was speaking. Even though it was morning, everything still felt dark and gloomy. The moment our eyes met, the monkey ran off to the other side of the roof. I went back inside, shocked, wondering what I had just heard. I thought maybe I was hallucinating because I hadn't slept all night and had been overthinking everything. But that voice, it wasn't a stranger's voice. It was exactly like Moina Thakur's voice. He had warned me not to give those hairs. But how did he even know about them? I was lost in these thoughts when a few moments later I heard a loud, agonizing scream, the death cry of a monkey.
A loud scream pierced the night. Neighbors all around jolt awake and rush outside, but they find nothing. Absolutely nothing. I didn't fully understand what was happening, but I had figured out one thing. That dead monkey was actually a jinn that had come to warn me. Right after that, someone or something must have killed that jinn. Maybe one of Nahud Fedala's loyal demonic spirits, a Pishak-class jinn, finished it off. After that, I realized I was about to fall into serious danger very soon. So, without wasting any time, as soon as the first light of dawn broke, I secretly headed towards Saju's uncle's house, the exact place where the monkey had been killed and the black magic items were buried. The roads were terrible, so by the time I reached there, it was already late afternoon. I waited until after sunset. Then, when the moment felt right, I went to the spot, started digging, and found nothing. The items weren't there. I was shocked. I thought maybe I had dug in the wrong place. I started digging around nearby, but I clearly remembered the exact spot. I had left a special mark there, and that mark was still exactly the same, but the magic items were gone. Who could have taken them? What the hell was going on? I started getting really worried. Still, I kept digging a little further, and just one hand's length away from the original spot, I found all the black magic items. They were lying there exactly as I had left them. I quickly grabbed them. Under the head of that unclean animal, there was a small piece of tiger fur. I made a taweez with it, wrapped it carefully in black cloth, and using powerful mantras I knew, I struggled hard and finally bound it together with the black magic. Then I buried everything again and left quietly. That was my real plan this time. I had done the usual rituals to break the black magic, but the main thing was mixing that tiger fur with the spell, turning it into part of the magic itself. That was my true intention. I knew the counter magic I performed wouldn't actually work, but turning that tiger fur into part of the spell, that had a very special purpose. 3 or 4 days later, Saju Shikda came to meet me. I could see he was very worried. He told me his uncle had been admitted to the hospital and his condition was bad. I said, "Isn't this good news for you? Then why do you look so stressed?" Saju replied, "Farid, for the last 2 days, I haven't been able to sleep properly. Every time I fall asleep, I have these terrifying nightmares.
Last night, I saw everyone in my uncle's house cutting flesh from the dead child's body, cooking it with joy and laughter. I tried to stop them in the dream, but they didn't listen to me at all. After cooking, they tied my hands and feet and dragged me to that exact bush where the magic items were buried, and they forced me to eat that child's flesh. Tell me, Farid, how can anyone sleep after dreams like that? I don't know what's happening. Please, if you can, do something for me. Hearing this, I laughed hard inside, but on the surface, I comforted him, gave him some blessed water, and sent him away. After that day, I never saw him again. About a year ago, I heard he had gone completely insane, totally mad. He doesn't even wear clothes. Anyway, the night after Saju left, I was sleeping with my wife when suddenly, from my workroom, I heard this deep humming sound. Hum, hum, hum. It woke me instantly. I held my breath, moved slowly toward the room, and saw them. Many shadowy figures, exactly like the ones that came with Nahud Fedala. They were kneeling, rocking back and forth, chanting something in an unknown demonic language, making that same humming sound. From behind them, I said loudly, "Welcome." The moment I spoke, they all froze completely still. Then one of them shouted, "You tantric, give us right now what you promised to give to our master." I replied calmly but firmly, "First finish the job you took from me, then I'll give it. That was the deal. You were supposed to finish everything first. Right now, only one person has died. Another is very sick. There are still more people left." As soon as they heard my words,
All of them got up together and started leaving. Just as they were about to go, one of them turned and said, "Hey, you tantric, you think you're so clever, don't you? And that so-called god of yours is even cleverer. Whatever your god had to do, it's already done. But your own account is still pending, and trust me, your reckoning is going to be terrifying." Hearing those words, I stood there frozen in complete silence for a few moments. Then I just lay back down. The next morning, I went to the market to buy some groceries and supplies for the family. When I was coming back, I saw a fire service truck rushing toward our neighborhood. I started walking faster, almost running toward my house, but I was too late. I was way too late. By the time I reached there, my entire house was engulfed in flames. The whole neighborhood, along with the fire service team, fought desperately for 45 minutes before they finally managed to put out the fire. In that fire, I was supposed to be the one who died, but instead, my wife was killed. I immediately understood that the fire was deliberately set, and I knew exactly who did it: Nahud Fedala. I realized Allah was punishing me for my sins in this way. My heart completely shattered. I had no one left. All the love I once had for life turned into pure hatred for myself. A few days later, I withdrew all the money I had in the bank. I also sold the plot of land and got a decent amount. After keeping a small portion for myself, I donated everything else to the madrasa where my father had studied and worked as an accountant. After that, I left everything behind and started wandering the streets. I had no family left. This time, I wasn't searching for power. I was just trying to escape the sins I had committed and save myself from them. It's been 2.5 years now. For 2.5 years, I've been roaming from street to street, but not a single day has passed without Nahud Fedala following me. I don't know if I'll ever be free from this curse. I don't know if Allah will ever forgive me. Farid told this entire story in one long breath. When he finally finished, he let out a deep, heavy sigh and fell silent. Hafiz Shah Huzur had listened to every single word with full attention. After staying quiet for a while, Huzur said, "Farid, do you know the kalima?"
Farid shook his head and replied, Huzur, I only remember the first kalima. I used to know everything, but now nothing comes out of my mouth. I can't even remember a single verse of the Quran. I learned so much as a child, but by practicing that forbidden black magic, Allah has taken all of it out of my heart and mind. Hearing this, Huzur said gently but firmly, I don't know whether the Almighty Allah, the Lord of the universe, will ever forgive you for what you've done. But this much I do know. Even if someone has committed sins as huge as mountains, if they truly repent from the bottom of their heart and ask for forgiveness, Allah never turns them away. You have done many terrible things, but you have also made great sacrifices. Shed tears of regret. Come back to Allah's door. Return to the straight path, Sirat al-Mustaqim. Inshallah, Allah will shower His mercy upon you. I will try my best from my side to help solve your problem, but I cannot make any promises. Your own good deeds and repentance are the only real solution. Remember that. Tomorrow morning, come with me to the madrasa. In the presence of witnesses, you will formally accept Islam again and begin practicing the faith properly with full effort. You were once a Muslim, but when a person gets involved in kufr and black magic, whether they were Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, or Christian, they step completely out of their religion. You left Islam when you entered that forbidden path. Now you must return to Islam officially, say the kalima again, and start practicing properly. After that, we will see what else can be done. Farid nodded in agreement. That night, he slept on the veranda of Huzur's house. Later that night, while Huzur was praying tahajjud and doing tasbih, he suddenly heard a greeting from behind. Without turning his head, he replied to the salam and said, Rehman, come inside. The man sleeping outside, you probably heard everything he said. Your job is to go to Sardar-e-Ala, the big Dada, and tell him everything exactly as you heard it. Tell him I am waiting for his guidance. The Muslim messenger Jinn, Rehman, said, Huzur, why are you giving shelter to this man? Shouldn't his death be at the hands of the devil? Huzur answered calmly, Rehman, no one has the power to cause death except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, this man has committed many sins, but if he dies as a Muslim and reaches the grave, perhaps Allah will forgive him, if we help him in this matter and strengthen his faith.
If we can bring him back to the right path, then on the day of judgment, won't this man testify in our favor? And if we abandon him today and let him go his own way, won't this same man testify against us? Won't he stand on the plain of Hashir and say, Oh Allah, I went to these people, I begged them for help, but they didn't help me at all. What answer will we give to Allah then? Hearing this, Rahman Bhai said, Huzur, I have no words left against your argument now. After saying this to the Sultan of the universe, Prophet Muhammad, Rahman Bhai gave salam and left. The next morning, after Fajr prayer, Huzur woke Farid from sleep and took him straight to the madrasa. That very day, Farid accepted Islam again and began a completely new life as a Muslim. Hafiz Shah Huzur gave Farid the responsibility of keeping the madrasa clean and tidy. He arranged everything for his food and stay there. In this way, about a month passed. Farid started praying properly, did his work at the madrasa, and in his free time, he would learn the Quran from whoever he could find. Sometime later, one night after completing Isha prayer, Huzur was walking home through a deserted place. Suddenly, he looked ahead and saw several tall, dark, massive figures blocking his path, standing right in the middle of the road. Huzur stiffened his body, moved forward slowly, and greeted them with salam, saying, Why are you blocking my way?
From within that darkness, one of them spoke up. "You Muslim human, do you even know who you've given shelter to? He is a tantric. His hands still carry the smell of human blood. Can't you smell it? Hand him over to us. We still have accounts to settle with him. Our master is waiting for him." Hafiz Shah Huzur replied in an angry voice, "You devils, go tell your master he is no longer a kafir tantric. He is now a Muslim brother and the brother of all Muslims. We will not allow anyone to harm him. If any of you ever block my path again, it will not end well for you or your master. Leave now, or else your master will have to come looking for you himself. I will leave you in such a condition that your own master will have to come here searching for you." As soon as he took one step forward after saying this, those dark figures rose up into the air and began disappearing into the sky. As they vanished, they shouted, "You Muslim human, you have made a big mistake, a very big mistake." After that, Huzur reached home without any further trouble. That night, when he woke up for tahajjud, made wudu, and reached the door of his personal prayer room, he suddenly smelled a very familiar and beautiful fragrance of attar. When he entered, he saw his Big Dada, the supreme leader, praying on his prayer mat. The entire room was filled with a warm, comforting light that soothed the heart. Huzur smiled softly, looked toward the courtyard outside, and saw Rehman, Sadiq, Hamza, Ikhlas, and countless other Muslim jinns loyal to Big Dada gathered there. Seeing this, Huzur entered and stood beside Big Dada to pray. After finishing the prayer, the two exchanged salams, shook hands, and sat face to face. Big Dada began speaking. "Hafiz Shah, after Rehman told me everything, I was very angry at first. You know how much I dislike this kind of work, and this person had done such terrible things. All the worst acts of the devils were carried out through his hands. Tell me, wasn't my anger justified?" Hearing this, Hafiz Shah Huzur remained silent for a moment. Then Big Dada continued, "But later, when Rehman mentioned what you said about the testimony on the Day of Judgment, I was truly surprised. Such a small but important point had not even crossed my mind. And it is exactly at this point that Rabbul Alameen has made the clear difference between humans and jinns. After that, I started feeling somewhat guilty, so I decided to help you in your work. But this task is full of complications and risks. It's not like other jobs. In this case, the opponents we face are not our direct enemies. We have to take the side of a person, and by doing so, we will have to face many difficult questions. I started gathering information as much as I could.
Even if a single hair is taken away, this magic will stop working completely. Mayna and Farid stole Nahud's hair and took away the power of his magic. That's why Nahud became insanely furious. But he cannot harm anyone who has a piece of his body, because that very part can be used to kill him through the magic. In other words, his own hair can be used to destroy him. Since Farid was the one who stole it, Nahud, in his rage, killed Farid's father by throwing him off the roof. But it was actually a clever trap. Nahud sent a demon to possess one of Farid's female relatives, then used her to lure Farid's father and get him killed. The whole thing was a well-planned conspiracy. On the surface, it looked like a normal accident. Because of Farid's foolishness, he blindly trusted Nahud without checking anything. While helping Nahud with the magic ritual, he gave his own blood as required. Nahud had deliberately added that rule. Anyone performing the magic must mix their blood with it. So Farid unknowingly gave his blood and fell under the spell himself. Another problem was that Nahud had mixed certain dangerous things with the pumpkin seeds. After everyone else died, Farid himself would also fall victim to the same curse. But at the right moment, Allah gave Farid the wisdom to realize his mistake. That's why he placed a few strands of Nahud's hair at the base of the pumpkin plant. As a result, Nahud himself got trapped in his own black magic. Farid actually did something very smart here. He understood the rule of this magic. Whoever's body part is added to the spell becomes its victim. When he realized he had Nahud's hair, which was Nahud's biggest weakness, he secretly mixed it into the magic. Because of that, Nahud Farida himself got caught in his own curse. Now he has to suffer to protect himself from the very dark magic he created. Earlier that day, after going to the market, Nahud first went to Farid's house, killed his wife, and burned the entire house to the ground, leaving Farid completely broken and penniless. His plan was to chase Farid until he was exhausted and then kill him to get his hair back. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had something else planned, and that's probably why you met him and why this whole matter reached me. The day a monkey came to warn Farid, that same night, Mara Thakur was killed. He was murdered. Before his death, Mara Thakur had sensed the danger coming, so he sent one of his loyal demon spirits disguised as a monkey to warn Farid. Actually, Mara Thakur didn't know that Farid had Nahud's hair. Farid had kept that secret from him. Somehow, through the jinns, he found out. The moment he learned it, he sent that demon in monkey form to alert Farid. But Nahud's loyal jinns caught and killed that demon. Even though Mara Thakur was a tantric, he truly loved Farid, so using even his final forbidden powers, he fought against Nahud to save Farid and lost his own life. I don't know whether to call him good or bad, but what he did, no other tantric would ever do. After saying all this, the elder brother fell silent. Hazur then asked, "Is there no solution to this? You are such a powerful sultan among the Muslim jinn race. Can't you help Farid in any way?" In reply, the elder brother said, "Hafiz Shah, I can try to solve this problem, but if I do, I will face strong opposition from many of my subordinate chieftains. They are also very powerful. They may question and criticize me for helping a tantric. I'm sure you don't want that, because they don't like tantrics, and neither do I. Besides, Nahud is not the type of jinn who listens to anyone. Capturing him or trying to reason with him is almost impossible. It's an extremely difficult task, believe me. If this problem happened to any Muslim today, I wouldn't think twice. I would use all my power to help him. But this is such a sensitive issue that if I get involved, I'll have to face my own loyal tribes and leaders. They might even disrespect me." Hazur said, "You keep calling him a non-Muslim. That's not right anymore. There were Muslim witnesses, and he has returned to the faith again. Maybe you didn't know this." After hearing this, the elder brother stayed quiet for a while, thinking. Then he said, "However, if you want, I can tell you how you can defeat Nahud."
After hearing this, the big brother, Borodada, said, "You'll have to do some things first. Only then can we help you as your soldiers." He continued, "I'll be honest with you from the start. This is an extremely difficult task. It's completely different from the kind of work we usually do. We can go and fight, and we can win battles, but this situation isn't that simple. There are many other forces at play here." Upon hearing these words, Huzur shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Then he said with determination, "All right then, tell me exactly how we can defeat Nahud. Whatever you say, I'll try my best to do it. I can't just sit back and let a fellow Muslim brother die like this at the hands of an evil devil-worshipping jinn." Big Brother nodded and instructed him. "First, go to that magic tree, the one used in the black magic. Destroy the spell on that tree. Then collect the hairs lying near it. Farid has a few more of those hairs with him. Gather all of them together. After that, perform ruqya with the intention of destroying this disobedient kafir jinn. If you do it this way, then not only will I and all my followers help you, we will stand by your side completely. If needed, we are even ready to give our lives for you." Huzur replied gratefully, "Thank you, my dear friend. I will start this work tomorrow itself, inshallah. Even though you are not human, you have done so much for humanity, and you continue to do so. Inshallah, you will keep doing it in the future too. On the day of judgment, I will surely testify in your favor." Hearing this, Big Brother smiled softly and then left. The next morning, after completing his prayers, Huzur Shah took Farid with him and went to the haunted house where the black magic had been performed. When they arrived, they learned that 3 more family members had already died by then. After getting permission from the family, they began searching for the exact spot where the magic had been done. It was supposed to be near a tree. With Farid's help, Huzur eventually located the area. A cursed head had been buried there, but strangely, neither Farid nor Huzur could find it at first. With the help of the family and some local people, they started digging all around the area. Here's what had actually happened. 3 pumpkin seeds had been planted as part of the black magic ritual. Those seeds should have grown into pumpkin plants, but no plants were visible above ground, and they couldn't find the roots either. It seemed the magic had caused everything to grow underground. After digging for a long time, Huzur noticed a very faint black mark on the surface of the soil, stretching toward the house. Seeing this, he walked forward, stood silently for a few moments, then told everyone to dig along that line. While the men were digging, Huzur remained quiet, deep in thought. Farid asked from behind, "Huzur, what are you thinking? Don't worry, inshallah we will find it soon. We're almost there. It won't take much longer." Huzur stayed silent for a while, then said, "Farid, this kind of magic, I heard about it many years ago from my grandfather. He was a great saintly man, but I only heard the story once or twice, so I can't remember it clearly now. I think this is a strange kind of tree that grows only underground and never comes above the soil. But something tells me that just finding the root won't be enough. There's another problem here. I just can't remember what it is. I heard this when I was very young and I've forgotten the details. Wait, give me a moment to think." After trying hard to recall for some time and failing, Huzur told the men, "Brothers, please arrange for me to be alone inside a nearby mosque for a little while. Close all the windows and doors so it becomes completely dark inside. Until I say otherwise, no one should wander around, and most importantly, no one should enter the mosque while I'm inside, no matter what. Also, bring me some paper and ink quickly." The people immediately followed his instructions. Someone brought paper and ink. Huzur wrote a letter in Arabic, then went to a graveyard some distance away. He placed the letter under a stone beside the last grave in the cemetery and returned. A short while later, when the family informed him that the mosque was ready, Huzur went right away. Inside, he had someone bring a large amount of river water. He sat down and began reciting various verses from the Quran over the water, blowing on it to prepare it for ruqya. A little later, he heard someone say, "Assalamu alaikum," from behind. Huzur returned the greeting and asked, "Did Sardar-e-Allah send any message?" Sadiq Bhai replied, "Huzur, after your letter reached the Sultan, he read it and immediately called one of the oldest and most experienced healers of our kind. That healer said, ever since this magic was performed, a dead person means there will be exactly that many fruits buried around the base of the trees, all hidden underground.
First, we have to find those fruits and destroy them. If we don't, or if someone pulls up the tree before destroying the fruits, the seeds inside them will spread this dark magic in every direction. Not only will the already cursed family be affected, the evil will spread to many people and animals nearby. This whole place could eventually turn into a barren wasteland, and not just this spot, the entire village could become a deserted ghost land. After hearing this, Hafez Shah Huzur listened quietly, let out a long sigh, and said, "Look, Sadiq Rahman, just look and think about it. One evil wizard working for the devil has done something so terrifying, yet he probably doesn't even realize that Almighty Allah has never created any power or problem on this earth whose solution isn't found in the Holy Quran. May Rabbul Alameen guide everyone." Then he asked, "So why have all of you come here?" Rahman Bhai replied, "Huzur, these are the Sultan's orders. Since you've already identified the black magic, his followers might try to harm you. That's why the Sultan has sent all of us. Please begin your work in the name of Allah. We will stay close by to protect you." Hearing this, Huzur smiled gently and said, "Ah, Rahman, why does my friend the Sultan forget that the true protector of life, wealth, and honor is Allah alone? If he has written my death through this work, then no one can stop it. All right then, let's begin." After some more discussion, Huzur came out of the mosque alone. He called everyone waiting outside and said, "Listen up. All of you work together and first try to find the head of an unclean animal. If you discover it, inform me immediately without touching or damaging it." A small group started searching right away. The rest gathered near the house and set up as many lights as possible, because night had already fallen. Now the devil's power could try to interfere. Until now there had been light, so things were manageable. Everyone began working according to Huzur's instructions. Around 10 to 11 p.m., one man suddenly shouted and called for Huzur. Everyone rushed over and saw it. Buried 2 feet underground, right in the middle of the house, was the head of an unclean animal, a pig's head. 3 thick roots came out from inside the pig's mouth and ran underground in 3 different directions across the house. Huzur ordered everyone to carefully dig along those roots. Within a short time, they found the ends of all 3 roots. Everyone was stunned by what they saw. At the end of each root was a bright red, medium-sized sweet pumpkin. But sweet pumpkins don't grow underground. They grow above the soil. The vines and leaves also grow above ground, never below. Yet here, the entire pumpkin plant with its leaves had grown completely underground. The leaves looked different too, unnatural. Hafez Shah Huzur asked everyone to step back. He climbed down himself, washed the pumpkins with special blessed water and prayers, then took out a rice harvesting sickle he had brought earlier. He cut all the pumpkins and gathered them in one place. After performing certain prayers, he sliced the smallest pumpkin right through the middle. Those standing nearby jumped back in horror. As soon as it was cut open, bright red blood poured out, along with a small beating heart. It looked like it was still moving. Without wasting any time, Huzur cut open the other pumpkins too. From them came more blood and 2 larger hearts. The 3 family members who had died, these were possibly their hearts. Huzur couldn't say for sure, but he explained, "This is an ancient form of black magic. This is exactly what happens because of it." Hafez Shah Huzur poured kerosene over all the hearts and pumpkins, set them on fire, and completely destroyed them. Then he returned to the pig's head. He stood in front of it for a long time, reciting powerful prayers and sprinkling holy river water over it. Soon, red smoke began curling out from the pig's nose, ears, and mouth. Strangely, even though the head had been buried there for so long, it hadn't rotted at all. The red smoke continued for quite some time before finally stopping. Then Huzur cut the thick root still attached to the head, carefully wrapped the entire head in a jute sack, and lifted it out. As he pulled the head up from the ground, he noticed something: several thick strands of yellow hair lying on the soil beneath where the head had been. Seeing that,
As soon as Huzur looked at Farid gestured and made it clear. These were the hairs of Nahud Fedala. Huzur picked them up, soaked them in water, slipped them into the pocket of his Punjabi, and stood up. Following Huzur's orders, the family dug up the rest of the shakor from all over the house and burned it completely. Basically, these shakor, pumpkin-like vines, had been slowly creeping underground into the house. It was an extremely slow and terrifying black magic. Anyway, they gathered everything in one place and burned it all. After that, Huzur gave the remaining family members the necessary protective prayers and performed ruqyah on them. He spent the rest of the night in worship and prayer. The next morning, after the Fajr prayer, everyone present joined Huzur Shah in leading 2 rakats of Shukrana Salah, prayer of gratitude, inside the boundary of the house. Once the prayer and supplications were over, Huzur and Farid took the cursed head and began their journey back to their own area. It was already quite late by the time they said goodbye to everyone and left. Back then, roads and transportation were nothing like today. No highways, no easy travel. The journey was long, expensive, and exhausting. After traveling a great distance, it was nearly 10 o'clock at night by the time they got close to their village, around 10, give or take. In a rural area, 10 at night meant deep night. They got off the trawler and walked under the moonlight, talking as they went. A little before entering the village, they had to cross a culvert bridge built over a canal. From the bridge to the village was another 10 minutes walk along a single dirt road. On both sides of that road stretched vast paddy fields. The rice had been harvested about a month earlier, and because there had been no rain, the ground was dry and cracked. As they walked along this path and stepped onto the culvert bridge, Huzur and Farid suddenly stopped dead in their tracks, staring ahead in the moonlight. There, on the other side of the bridge, stood a massive, monstrous figure with a face like a tiger. It was standing upright on 2 legs like a human. Its 2 red eyes glowed with terrifying fury, and green flames burned at its feet. Behind it, stretching down the road, were at least 2,000 or 3,000 pitch-black figures as tall as trees. Huzur immediately grabbed Farid's hand, pushed him back, stepped forward himself, and shouted, "You filthy devil! You wicked, disbelieving Jinn! I knew you would come, but I never thought you'd come this fast and this cowardly. Did you really bring your entire tribe just to meet an ordinary human like me, Nahud?" Nahud let out a terrifying roar and bellowed back, "Listen, you human, I have no personal enmity with you. Leave everything you brought here, including that tantric, and get out of here. I won't harm you. I don't even want to. But if you don't do exactly as I say, after I kill you, I will haunt your family as long as your last relative is alive. Remember this. One by one, I will sacrifice them all before my master Iblis. Every single child in your madrasa will become a sacrifice for my rituals. Mark my words." The moment he finished speaking, there was a loud thud behind Huzur. He turned around and saw Rahman Bai lying unconscious on the ground. Standing behind him was Rahman Bai, who greeted Huzur with salam and said, "Huzur, please step back.
Don't cross this bridge. Sardar-e-Allah has arrived. He will handle the rest." Seeing Rahman Bai, Nahud Fedala screamed from the other side of the bridge, "You Muslim jinn, why have you come? Get lost. I have no desire to fight with you, your tribe, or your kind. Never have. But if you interfere with my work tonight, I won't spare anyone from your race. This is a matter of my own survival. I didn't come here for nothing. You know that too. Even for my own life, I will kill every one of you if you stand in my way." Rahman Bai simply stood there after hearing this, but Huzur did not stay idle. He quickly removed the amulet from Farid's neck, combined it with the hairs he had brought, and clutched them tightly in his left fist. Suddenly, the surroundings grew even darker. Huzur saw more demonic jinns joining Nahud. At that moment, a hand touched his shoulder. Huzur turned and saw his elder Dada smiling gently, hand on his shoulder. Dada said, "You step back from here. My son Omar and his army will take care of the rest. Farid has already been moved to safety. Come with me." With that, Dada took Huzur's hand and led him off the bridge, pulling him a good distance away. Then he said, "Hafiz Shah, we have very little time. Start the ruqyah on those hairs immediately. The faster you do it, the fewer deaths will be."
Remember, the longer you delay, the longer the procession of dead bodies will grow. As soon as he heard those words, Huzur unhooved the turban from his head, spread it on the ground, faced the Qibla, and sat down. He took out water from his bag and immediately began the ruqyah. Meanwhile, Omar, the son of the great Dada, led thousands of Muslim jinns into battle against Nahud's demonic army. A terrifying, bloody war erupted. Rahman, Sadiq, Hamza, Ikram, Ikhlas, and all the loyal jinns under the great Dada's command joined the fight. Armed with various weapons and powers, they launched a full jihad against these evil forces. On the other side of Nahud Bridge, Nahud himself stood hidden behind many of his followers. Even after Huzur Shah began the ruqyah, Nahud kept chanting his dark spells, desperately trying to protect himself. But he never entered the battlefield directly. His loyal demonic jinns fought fiercely while surrounding and guarding him. From the way his followers behaved, it was clear that Nahud couldn't fight openly. He was only trying to save his own life. Though people called his power limitless, even his power had boundaries. True limitless power belongs only to the Creator, Allah, who made everything. The battle raged on. Suddenly, the eerie green light burning beneath Nahud's feet vanished, and normal-colored fire flared up in its place. Usually, a strange green glow always surrounded his feet, but now it had changed. Even though it looked normal, the intense heat from that fire could be felt by Huzur from where he sat. Everyone stopped fighting at once and stared in that direction, toward Nahud's feet. His own followers froze and looked too. The jinns loyal to the great Dada's own attack paused and watched. Within moments, by the mercy of Allah Ta'ala, flames erupted across Nahud's entire body. He burned violently, right in front of everyone, turning into ashes. The powerful evil jinn, Nahud Fedala, was completely destroyed. After his death, the demonic jinns scattered in panic and fled in every direction. Many were captured by the great Dada's soldiers. The saddest part was that more than 50 Muslim jinns were martyred in this battle, and the most heartbreaking loss was that Omar, one of the great Dada's own sons and a brave commander, was also martyred. After the war ended, the powerful Sultan, Sardar Allah, the Great Dada, returned with tears in his eyes, carrying the bodies of the martyrs. Later, Huzur Shah, along with Rahman Bai and many others, safely escorted Farid back to the madrasa. They also escorted Huzur Shah back. After that, there were no more troubles. With the Great Dada's permission and invitation, Huzur had the honor of attending the funeral prayer for the martyred jinns. 2 days after the funeral, Huzur destroyed all the remaining magic items and threw them into the river. Almost a month passed. One afternoon, after finishing classes at the madrasa and the Zuhr prayer, Huzur was sitting in his office doing some work. Suddenly, through the open window, without any grill, a large, snow-white creature that looked like a cat entered the room. Huzur immediately recognized it. This was no ordinary cat. It was the Great Dada's special pet, known by the name Namir. The Great Dada and his family always called it Namir. As soon as it entered, the creature came straight to Huzur and began to rub its head affectionately against his chest. Huzur smiled warmly and stroked its head lovingly. He noticed a small piece of paper tied with a string around its neck. He untied and removed it. Then he gave Namir some rice mixed with milk from his own lunch. While Namir ate, Huzur opened the letter. It was from the Great Dada. After greetings, it said he would visit on the coming Friday night and politely requested that Huzur arrange some sweets for him. Huzur smiled after reading the letter. Once Namir finished eating, it left through the same window it had come from. Actually, Namir was also a jinn, but he preferred to stay in the form of a cat all the time. He always stayed close to the Great Dada, which is why the Great Dada loved him so much. The following Friday, after a busy day and leading the Isha prayer, Huzur returned home with sweets. After dinner and a short rest, he went to his personal prayer room around midnight and began reciting tasbih. Shortly afterward, he heard a gentle knock on the door. When he turned around, he saw Sardar Allah, the Great Dada, standing there with an elderly jinn. After exchanging salams and pleasantries, Huzur asked about the elderly jinn. The Great Dada replied, "He is the oldest, most experienced, and wisest scholar in my entire kingdom. He's also the best healer. When you sent me a letter asking about the magic Nahud Fedala had used, it was he who gave me all the detailed information, which I then passed on to you. If he hadn't told me, even I wouldn't have known about it. Today he wanted to come along, so I brought him. He rarely meets anyone and doesn't like leaving our clan. He prefers spending his time studying knowledge and science. The reason he couldn't come earlier when you called was because after the battle, many of Nahud's close followers escaped. It took time to track them down. Some were captured, but the rest have joined forces with the cursed, merciless killer Jinn Emperor, Velad Kafrian.
Inshallah, the day Allah's help arrives, that's the day I will personally deal with those wretched infidels myself." Hafiz Huzur listened quietly, then gently changed the subject and asked, "Have you been able to catch your son Umar's killer?" The moment the question was asked, a deep wave of pain washed over Big Dada's luminous face. Realizing the question had hurt him, Huzur quickly added, "Forgive me, I didn't ask to cause you pain. I still cannot accept in my heart the death of Umar and all the other Muslim brothers. Especially, I cannot bear to see your suffering." Hearing this, Big Dada replied with a calm yet powerful voice, "My dear friend, why are you feeling sad? Isn't this a matter of joy for me? I am a father who has lost his son, but my son became a martyr. These evil jinns don't care about religion or race. They harm anyone. They don't recognize Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist or Christian. They only know their own selfish interests. That's why they can attack anyone. If needed, they won't hesitate to kill even their own loved ones. My son achieved martyrdom while fighting against such a dangerous tribe. And you already know the high status of a martyr. Both Hafiz Shah Huzur and the elderly Jinn healer were stunned. They stared at Big Dada in silence. He continued, "You're surprised why I am happy, right? On the day of judgment, when the martyrs stand in line, my son will be called forward to stand behind our beloved Prophet Muhammad, the most beloved friend of the Lord of the worlds. They will say, 'The son of so-and-so, Martyr Umar.' That means my name will be announced. Just imagine my name being mentioned alongside my son's name in front of the Prophet. What a feeling that will be. What an honor. What a reward. How fortunate does someone have to be, whether jinn or human, to receive such an honor? As a father, this is exactly why I am happy. This is why I thank Allah every day. Allah chose my son to be a martyr. I pray that Allah grants him the full status and honor of a martyr. This is my only wish from Allah. In this worldly life, we stay busy with so many things. Allah has honored me in this world too, but I want honor in both worlds." As Big Dada spoke these words, both Hafiz Shah Huzur and the experienced jinn with him began to cry. The pain of losing a child had turned into tears of joy. If you didn't see it with your own eyes, you wouldn't believe it. Some people hope for such blessings for the descendants of Muslim sultans. But hoping is one thing, turning that hope into genuine joy and acceptance is something else entirely. And that's where this chapter of the story ends. Farid, however, lived for many more years. He stayed at Huzur's madrasa and served with full dedication. From what we know, in 2019, Farid passed away due to a heart attack inside Hafiz Shah Huzur's madrasa. He was buried in a local graveyard. As for the respected Hafiz Shah Huzur, after making countless humans and jinns cry with emotion, he answered Allah's call and passed away in 2014. He was a very well-known and respected figure from the Kochu area of Bagherhat, whose children, daughters and son-in-laws are still here. His own father was an even greater saintly person. May Allah accept all of them. May He grant long righteous lives to Hafiz Shah Huzur's family and give them the ability to help even more people. Dear listeners, this was Big Dada's final story. I call it the final story because after this we could not find any more incidents about him, and the chances of finding more are very low. Even though Sufyan Bhai or Sufyan Huzur shared this, it wasn't originally his story. And right now, even Sufyan Huzur doesn't know any more events about Big Dada. That's why we are officially concluding Big Dada's series here. Many of you want more stories about him, but we cannot continue making them up. If we kept going, we would eventually have to invent stories, and that's something we don't do. However, Zubair Islam Bhai has promised that if he finds any other genuine original stories not related to Big Dada, he will definitely share them with us for you. Dear listeners, how did you like today's episode? It had fear, joy, mystery, everything. I tried my best with whatever limited ability I have to present this story properly. This is the longest story we have narrated so far. I hope you listen to it patiently till the end. A big thank you to Zubair Islam Bhai for taking so much time and effort to write and send this story. Thank you to all our listeners for patiently hearing this long episode. If you haven't liked this video yet, please press the like button right now, and please share this video link with others. Those who will listen to this story, I humbly request you to like and share it, and definitely tell us in the comment section how you felt about this episode.